Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nails and Beauty Talk. I am your host, Asia the Bird. Today, I have a very special guest with me today. She's a fashion content creator. Please welcome Ariana Johnson. Hello, Ariana. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Asia. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Happy to be
That's
here.
good. Yeah, glad to have you. So I definitely want to go ahead and get started by asking, where are you from, and tell us about your upbringing.
I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised. I feel like growing up, I was definitely a naturally creative child, and my parents definitely cultivated that for me. So they allowed me to express my creativity however I needed to, and that kind of led me to dance. That was kind of like my first creative outlet, and dance and performing definitely led me into my love of fashion. And I think just being around like the sets, the production, makeup, costumes, all of that kind of definitely sparked my whole interest in the arts as a whole. I grew up dancing with professional ballet companies from the age of 3 to 19. So that was
Wow.
a big part of my life. And I think the fashion industry and the performance industry also, like, they have so many similarities. And I think just being used to kind of like the backstage chaos and the rehearsals and
Right.
all of that whole environment that is so similar to fashion. So it was kind of like a natural extension for me to step off the
Mhm.
stage and go into fashion.
Mm. Yeah, that's really, really cool. But I definitely want to get into in regards, did you go to college to study fashion, or were you just solely like self-taught, like in terms of like interest in being like an enthusiast of it?
No, I did go to college for it. I
Mhm.
kind of knew that I wanted to get into the field seriously, probably when I was around 14, 15. So
Mhm.
I got my first actual experience with working in the industry at 16,
Mhm.
doing an internship with Spanx because their headquarters was in Atlanta. So I worked on their
Mhm.
product development and design team. And I was like, okay, I kind of, I like this. So I ended up going to a few summer art intensives at different colleges to kind of see where I would actually want to be and see what different fields are out there
Right.
post graduation. And that led me to going to Drexel University, where I graduated with a degree in fashion design. And my focus
Mhm.
was on men's and women's wear. And
Mhm.
from there, after graduation, I worked at a few different places doing product development. And I eventually ended up at Ralph Lauren, where I'm at now.
Wow, that's really, really cool. But
Yeah.
I definitely want to get into just in regards to, from looking at your media kit, and you work on solely in design and production. So I definitely want to go ahead and ask, like, within regards to design and production, in regards to fashion, like, what's like the environment like what's it like, working behind in those areas of fashion?
It's definitely fast paced, of course. Like everybody knows, it's definitely fast paced. I think for me, I definitely enjoyed, especially seeing the two different sides of design and production. Design is more of a forward facing role where
Mhm.
you kind of have a little bit more exposure, where the production side is kind of, the behind the scenes because we
Right.
control making sure the product gets from, the design studio all the way to the retailers. So it's
Right.
more of a behind
Mhm.
the scenes role. So I do like that I have experience on both sides, but at the
Mhm.
end of the day, it's still going to be fast paced. You still have to learn how to adapt. You have to
Mhm.
know, your timelines, milestones, how to work with different people, work with
Mhm.
people overseas, different vendors and factories. You really have to be a multifaceted individual in order to make it work and to excel.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely. I want to get into being a fashion content creator because I wanted to go ahead and cover this, because what are some of the key things one should understand with being a fashion content creator? Like, what are some of the things that one should, keep in mind, or to really have a certain discipline of, especially when, brands are trying to search for, content
Mhm.
creators, influencers, things like that. So what are some things one should understand when being a fashion content creator?
You do need to know kind of what your focus is going to be, because you're competing with so many people out there who are always, pushing out content constantly. And then with the influx of new apps that are coming out, new platforms, like
Mhm.
it's always going to be something that's changing and evolving. So you really have to know exactly like what your focus is, and that can change over
Mhm.
time. But there still needs to be something that's like a standard set where people can go to
Right.
you and say, "Oh, I'm going to this person because I know she's always going to do this, or she's always going to provide me with this." So having
Right.
that will help you kind of navigate your content creator career.
Mhm.
Also, I think being true to yourself is still important. And I think
Right.
if you have that background and that knowledge of like, okay, I'm going to go into this knowing that I do this one
Mhm.
particular thing really well, then you will succeed because you will stand out. So you
Mhm.
have to have something that is going to make you stand out amongst all of these other content creators. So really
Mm.
trying to identify yourself would be the first step, I would say.
I definitely want to switch gears and talk about traveling because you're big into traveling. So you've traveled to different places around the world. And I definitely want to really ask in regards to fashion pieces, when you're traveling, things like that, what are some things that you look for in a unique piece of fashion?
That's a good question. Okay. I think for me, I definitely like to research. I'm a big researcher before I do anything, and especially with travel, like there's so many like opportunities and places to see and places to go. So
Right.
if there's like a particular brand that I really like that I know I can't get access to in the States, I look on their website, figure out where their stockists are, so I can go to those
Mhm.
stores when I travel there.
Right.
Also, just looking like random boutiques, random little concept stores, even if
Mhm.
you just, stroll along a random street, if you're in a certain area, just
Right.
go in and just have an open mind when you're shopping and
Mhm.
you're traveling to different places. I think that's the best way to find like cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But I definitely want to get into just also to just still in the traveling aspect of things. What are some things that's similar or different in regards to street style and fashion from different parts of the world, like from the places that you've traveled?
I feel like a lot of the places that I've been to in particular, there is still that sense of personal like style and personal identity.
Hmm.
And I think that's the coolest thing that I see whenever I travel. Like you can tell that the people that they're like integrated into their city, like they understand the vibe of their city, and
Hmm.
that's like reflected in how they dress and how they carry themselves. So I love looking at how
Hmm.
people kind of um, showcase themselves wherever I am. So that's a cool
Hmm.
thing to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can definitely tell like New York has a certain, style or like
Yeah, they have their
LA.
own certain like aesthetics and they like are
Mhm.
true to that. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely, most definitely. Now, I really love your fashion style because it gives me like the chic, modern, futuristic flair. So, like, how did your style develop over time? And like, how could you describe like your fashion style?
I think for me, the two things that I would say in order to gain inspiration for myself definitely comes from my mood and then whatever kind of story that I want to like recreate or
Hmm.
whatever inspiration that I want to recreate. So it's definitely mood based. Like if I'm feeling like I want to be a little lazy, I'll throw on something that I think is cute, but it's still comfortable for me. And
Right.
I love, like I said, I'm a big researcher, so I love looking into different editorials, what the stylists are styling on the runway, like recreating that. If
Hmm.
there's a certain era and time that I loved at the moment, looking in the past is helpful to see if I want to recreate a look based on that. So yeah, definitely mood and researching and really digging into
Hmm.
my personal archive of inspiration is
Yeah,
helpful.
absolutely. Because to add on to that also too, I'm into like fashion and looking at the
Mhm.
vintage style. Like
Yeah.
I'm more into like the 80s, 90s, early 2000s type of style. And and those trends are coming back. And
Yeah.
it's so crazy because, like with fashion, there's certain trends that will die down, it'll come back, die down, come back. So, it's really crazy how like nowadays a lot of things are embraced, it
Mhm.
isn't like one certain trend or certain trends. It's like a lot
Yeah.
of things, especially the Y2K, is more embraced
There's
nowadays.
no, like, wrong way to do anything, like,
Right.
you don't have to be confined to anything anymore,
Mhm.
and that's the beauty of, I guess, being, having the social media world and the internet to have that, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, going back to the environment, like, you get influenced by a lot of street style, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
different parts of the world, like London, New York, and, Paris.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, like, and especially with certain cities, when you step into like New York or DC or whatever, it makes you feel like you want to do something,
Yeah.
you can be somebody, you know what I mean? So, but also have a flair, so I
Mhm.
think being in a certain environment helps those, helps
Yeah.
you develop your street style.
I totally agree, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But I definitely want to get into how would you describe the Ariana Johnson aesthetic?
I would say definitely forward thinking, anecdotal, and refined, and probably daring. Those are my little 4 adjectives.
That's really, really cool. But I definitely want to get into this in regards to, in terms of fashion, like for someone who wants to develop their own fashion style of how to put outfits together and things like that. Like, what are some things, in terms of tips that you can give for someone who is trying to put, a certain aesthetic for themselves, like a certain, street style? Like, what are some things, one should really understand?
I would say one, figure out what you actually like and to kind of ignore what's being fed to you on like the algorithms. Because at the end
Right.
of the day, it's your personal style. It's what you like. You have to wear it.
Mhm.
So
Right.
you kind of do have to learn how to ignore the outside like distractors of what's being
Mhm.
kind of pushed and fed to you, because those trends will like die out within the next week, especially with things like, TikTok. Like there's a new trend popping up every 2-3 days. So you kind of have to know, like, this is what I really like. This is what I'm gonna stick with. Will I make changes to that? Sure. But I like this set style. And then once you
Mhm.
find that, I would say, once again, research, figure out how was this style done in the 70s? How was this style done in the 80s? How can I take it forward? And like I said
Mhm.
before, I really love and I encourage people to research different editorials. Like that's one of the best ways to find out how to really be inventive with your style, by looking at how
Mhm.
they do it in, certain publications, how these stylists are styling different collections on the runway. That's where you can figure out how you can kind of wear a certain bag a different way or wear an accessory a different way. So
Mhm.
definitely really figuring out what you truly, truly like.
Mhm.
First step. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But I definitely want to get into just in regards to branding. So, what are some tips also you can give for people who need help in terms of branding in regards to fashion? Because I know you did mention you went to school to study fashion design. So, what are some things that you could offer for someone who needs help with like branding?
I would say you would kind of have to narrow down what your purpose will be on whatever app that you're serving, because each app serves a different purpose. So if you want to be more on the more personable, like get ready with me side, where you're really showcasing like your story time, storytelling, all of that, that can
Right.
be something that you focus on, where maybe you won't be too deep into like the details of what whatever brand you're wearing or whatever clothing you're wearing. Or if you're someone that wants to navigate more on like the fashion history side, where you're really showcasing where this item came from, how it's been influenced, how it's been worn. You can go through
Mhm.
that way. But I think you really have to figure out what your true like purpose is and what you really like to showcase,
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
and
And to add on.
where
Mhm.
your talent lies too. Because some people aren't good at everything. Some people are good at everything. Some people are focused on one particular thing. So really find out where you kind of shine is one of the first
Mhm.
ways to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And going to, art school personally, I went to SCAD, I majored in illustration and I minored in fibers, which is like, knitting, crocheting and natural dyeing and things like that.
Yeah.
And of course it's cool to go to, art school, beauty school. I'm also a licensed cosmetologist. But one of the things that they don't teach enough, is branding or understanding, business to help you get prepared for the industry for
I
you to
agree.
jump in. So that's the thing. So, like for example, when I went to high school, I took cosmetology courses, to get my cosmetology license. So even before and after doing cosmetology courses, I had to learn a lot of stuff on my own. So I definitely think that fashion schools and art schools and beauty schools should definitely hone in more on personal branding, understanding business, especially on the financial side as well.
Yes. Yeah. And I feel the same way when it comes to like fashion and design schools, because even for me, like we didn't focus too much on like the production side or all those jobs you can get on the back end in the industry, because there's so many different jobs you can tap into, and
Mhm.
they don't really highlight that. I mean, I think I
Right.
had maybe
Mhm.
like one or two classes that kind of focused on it, but I mean,
Right.
design is going to be design. So
Mhm.
you kind of
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to do a little bit of outside research and digging too to find out where you kind of fit in.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. But I definitely want to get into just in regards to nail art, because speaking of
Mhm.
beauty, because you do make posts about nail art and things like that. So, and what I really like about what you do is that you give shine to, different types of nail art that you wear. But I definitely want to get into what are some things that you love about nail art and what is it, you like about nail art in terms of wearing it as well.
Yeah. I love nail art. I love anything related to it. I think of it honestly as like an additional accessory to
Hmm.
whatever you're wearing. And I like it as a little mood board of like what I'm into, for the month or for the time being for the 2 week, 3 weeks that I have them on.
Hmm.
And I'm really into how crazy like the technology and the techniques have like kind of evolved with nail
Right.
art. Like I love like the photorealistic and the hyperrealism that people can do on nails with the painting, all of like the 3D textures that are coming out
Right.
now. Like there's so
Hmm.
many cool things that are happening, and that's why I don't get how people can just like see that and want to do like the the solid color nails. I'm like, there's so much cool stuff out there.
Right.
Like try it. So yeah, I'm big on nail
Mhm.
art. I love press-ons and just like interchanging my nails all the time. So
Yeah, absolutely. But also too, like I like how fashion is slowly embracing more of the creative side of nail art because
mhm.
that's definitely needed. It's not just red, it's not just a solid nude color or some, a basic design. I mean, that's cool. But
Yeah.
I like how where, like with the Blondes, which is a fashion brand in New York that
Mhm.
works with the nail brand C&D, which is,
Mhm.
co-founded by Jan Arnold, who I had a chance to have a conversation and talk to her about her brand. And they do a lot of nail art for the blondes, very avant-garde chic. And I like where nail art is going now. It's Y2K, the duck nails coming out,
Yeah.
the bling nails, and it's just a wide range of things.
But even like the nails that you said like are coming down the runways, that's influencing
Hmm.
what people are wearing every
Right.
day. It's just a big trickle down effect. So
Hmm.
that's really cool to see
Yeah, absolutely,
where
especially
like
with
it
celebrities.
starts from. Yeah.
Yeah, especially like celebrities like Meg The Stallion, Saweetie,
Yeah.
and it's cool that us as nail artists are getting, are slowly, nail artists like myself getting recognition slowly over time, because I think that's something that's definitely needed, because we put in a lot of time and work into what we do.
Yeah. It's still an art form. It's a different
Right.
art form that's, kind of popping off right now. So you
Mm,
definitely deserve your flowers for that. That's a lot of shit. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. But I definitely want to get into in regards to Black creatives because you spoke in one of your TikTok videos concerning Black creatives in fashion and how they're treated in the industry. And one of the books that I read that was very remarkable, and I love the book. It's called The Chiffon Trenches by Anjan Talley.
Mhm.
He talked about his experiences being in the fashion industry and how he was treated. But also, too, as of recently, Law Roach talked about, and he retired from being a fashion stylist as of recently.
Right.
So I definitely want to really ask this important question. So as it pertains to Black creatives and being a Black creative, such as yourself, you know, how important is it for Black creatives to have credibility in the fashion industry?
I think it's super important. It's definitely a discussion that has been happening for years, over and over.
Mhm.
I think we kind of did see a shift, post
Right,
2020. A lot of things changed. But as we've seen with like the Law Roaches, his whole issue,
right.
um, it's kind of slowly starting to revert back. A lot of people are speaking out again about their mistreatment, which I
Right.
think is valid. And I think they're complaints and whatever issues they have should be voiced and heard. But I
Mhm.
think for me, one of the most important things is that once the conversations are over, there needs to be action behind the
Right.
words. And
Mhm.
I think sometimes we can't really wait for these big conglomerates and figureheads to kind of give us the okay to um, kind of make these initiatives and these organizations, because I know we do
Right.
need funding. That's a big part of it too. We need funding for some of these changes that we need to be made,
Right.
but we kind of have
Mhm.
to take a little bit of action within our own personal communities and circles, whether it be your own circle of friends who are creatives, like really helping each other out, giving each other access to
Right.
eliminate like the gatekeeping, sharing
Mhm.
resources, sharing contacts, just starting
Mhm.
small. I think with that we can really like make an effect that can be bigger, that
Mm-hmm.
can be broader, that can really affect other people who are trying to get into the industry. Because that's a big thing. A lot of people don't have the access in order to make the first step to even, meet the right person or get the first job. They don't get that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think really
Mm-hmm.
reaching back and making sure we always like pay it forward once we get to the successes that we dreamed of. We need to also reach back and help others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We have to invest in each other, and that's very, very important because when we support each other, we can build, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the thing is, we could step away from the big, like how you said, the big conglomerate brands and things like that. We don't have to depend on organizations to speak
Yeah.
out for us. And that's what I like about, with Law Roach and, when Ajahn Tali wrote his book, because they spoke their truth, like, this is how I was treated in the fashion industry. And the thing with Ajahn Tali is that, when he was working at Vogue, there was people making more money under him than he was making. And he was in the highest position at Vogue.
Yeah. It's definitely a cautionary tale, but I feel like we're
Right.
definitely in a blessed position for creatives now where we have, that history, we have that knowledge, what he did, and we
Yeah.
can make it better. We can use what he did and make it
Mhm.
better. Same with like what Law Roach is speaking about now. He spoke his truth. It was completely valid. And now we need to move forward to make it better for people, for upcoming Black stylists who want to follow in his footsteps coming into the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. But also to having our own like fashion media outlets. And one of the people that have their own fashion media outlets is MEFeater. And her name is Gabrielle Amani. And I like what she's doing because she did the Valentine's Day
Yeah, the
early.
runway show and part,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So I had a chance to have a conversation with her. And and she put the nail on the head. Like, she said fashion is based, is on racism. You know what I mean? So there's racism in the fashion industry.
Yeah, I mean, the industry was not particularly built for people of color. It was
Right.
built for a certain group of people. That's kind of how it's operated. That's who it's dominated by.
Mhm.
And we've just made a way to make our talents and our voices heard.
Mhm.
But it's something that we still need to work at. And unfortunately, it's a
Mhm.
cycle that we need to kind of break, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely, most
Whatever
definitely.
ways we can get there, we can get there.
Yes, absolutely. I
Yeah.
totally agree with that wholeheartedly. I definitely want to get into, in regards to how to navigate the fashion industry, because there's a book from Robert Greene, which is a classic called The 48 Laws of Power. And it talked about the cutthroatness of business and in life as well. So if you have some tips and advice for Black creatives who are getting into the fashion industry, how do they navigate, the fashion industry? What are some ways, in terms of tips of how to navigate the fashion industry?
I think the best way is kind of like what we just previously spoke about, like acknowledging the realities of it and
Right.
knowing that when you go into these spaces, you might be the only one sometimes, or maybe there might be a smaller pool of you.
Mhm.
So going in knowing like the facts is a good way to start because then you can set
Right.
yourself up for success and you can really figure out how to navigate it. But I also feel like it's not some big like scary like fortress where no one can get in. You can get in. You
Right.
just have to find a way to get in. And
Mhm.
you just have to be a little bit more adaptable in how you navigate your kind of career path. And
Mhm.
there's not one set way for someone to be successful in the fashion industry. You can go multiple different routes. You can pivot. You can
Mhm.
start
Right.
again. So I
Yeah.
think the first thing is
Mhm.
also like one, acknowledging the realities of it, and two, definitely developing a sense of confidence. So when you
Mhm.
do walk into these
Absolutely.
spaces, you know that you like belong there and
Right.
you're worthy to be there and your voice
Mhm.
can be heard and you can speak up for yourself because those things do matter because sometimes they
Right.
will certain spaces will make you feel like your voice does not matter and you don't have a right to be there,
Mhm.
but you're there, you're valid. So
Mhm.
definitely those two things I would say are helpful. That's helped me in navigating certain spaces that I've been in.
I want to definitely get into Black designers, Ariana, because on your TikTok you do highlight Black designers. So I definitely want to go ahead and ask, like, who are like some of the Black designers that you're following that are like your favorite brands or designers?
I think for me right now, definitely Tebe Magugu,
Mhm.
Aluwalia. I will always love Martine Rose. That's one of my favorites. And also Maximilian Davis, who's at Ferragamo now.
Mhm.
And then IB Kamara. I think he's one of my favorite like creative visionaries ever. I think he's doing such a good job at Off-White. So I love them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Those
it's
are my
really,
top
really cool. Now, in regards to designers on a general scale, if you had a top 5 of your favorite fashion designers, who would they be and why?
two. Oh, that's a hard one. I give you a top three, top five. I like have to think about a little bit. My first one would probably be Alexander McQueen because I feel like that
Mhm.
was like my like starting point of when I like realized how big, you know, fashion and storytelling could be on a
Right.
big stage like he, developed. I
Mhm.
think his eye and his vision was just immaculate. He will always be one of my favorites. Also, John Galliano. I think
Mhm.
he told stories of the history of different eras and different historical moments very well.
Mhm.
And all of his shows were always a production, and I love that. And
Mhm.
my third would probably be Mugler, Terry Mugler,
Mhm.
because he also does have a ballet dance background, so I always related to
Mhm.
that. And I loved how every show was, a moment. He allowed like his models, he allowed his team, everybody to kind of be themselves and to really like perform on stage, and I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, top 3 is cool, you
Yeah,
know. And I definitely love, Alexander McQueen as well as Mugler. Mugler, especially in the 90s, like a lot of his fashion shows were so immaculate.
yeah,
I was in awe of like his creativity, especially like, Alexander McQueen. You know what I mean? Like his creativity and him pushing the boundaries of fashion. And like how you said, storytelling,
yeah.
it is
And
not
definitely how
only
to utilize
Mhm.
technology. Mugler did it too, but how they like
Right.
merge technology,
Mhm.
and we're kind of on the forefront for a lot of different things and a lot of different industries.
Right.
So I loved
Mhm.
how they kind of just were very forward thinking with a lot of the concepts that they came up with.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Mugler, I love like the storytelling within his work. And I think I don't know if you heard of the singer George Michael, but
Hmm.
like some
Yeah,
of their
the video
fashion
he
was
did. Yeah,
too funky. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Naomi Campbell and Tyra,
yeah. The great video.
Linda Evangelista. I love that video so much. But yeah, but I like, Alexander McQueen and Mugler, because like I said, the amount of storytelling, but also just the amount of mediums that they've used to create beautiful garments.
Hmm.
They were absolutely, beautiful and remarkable. Another designer that I've recently got into, his name is Kevin Germanet. And
Oh
I think
yes, yes.
yeah, I think
All
he's
the
from
embellishments and sequins.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love him. Yeah,
Yeah, like
he's
his
great.
work is very, very immaculate. I think he's from like Switzerland. I'm hoping I have this right, but
Mhm.
I really love his work because just like how you said that the play with materials, detailing, very avant garde, very out the box, and
Yeah,
and that's what I like where fashion and nails are going. It's going more out the box, and it's something that is not meant to be practical, but it's a beautiful body of work that could be an art statement.
yeah. I think people are also looking for that too. People like want a little bit of something that will make them stand out, like a conversation starter, like that they can
Mhm.
wear every day. Like people love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like for example, like with Brandon Blackwood when he did the anti-systemic racism on the handbags, and that went viral.
Yeah, people wanted to say it.
Yeah.
That was a great way for the people to say it without saying it. Like that was a
Mhm.
great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he had those came out at the time where what happened with George Floyd and
Yeah,
Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor, those incidents happened. So
yeah.
yeah, but I do like where the industries are going, because people are getting more unafraid to speak out and saying like, yo, this is what's happening, especially when it pertains to mental health. And that's why I like where our generation is more vocal about mental health and the importance of speaking out about, what you go through, and it's okay to seek help.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But I definitely want to get into in regards to, this question, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Do you see yourself still in the fashion industry to some sort of degree? Do you plan on venturing out into like different areas of fashion? Like, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
That's a good question. I definitely still think that I will be in the fashion industry. I feel like this is a path that is meant for me. All of my interests are kind of weirdly combined into fashion. But I definitely see myself kind of pivoting around. So I definitely want to get more into kind of filmmaking and learning how to do short films. And I really want to focus on fashion films and definitely getting into other mediums like animation, CGI, and seeing how I can combine that. I'm heavily into AI right now, so I love being able to utilize that within my designs and how that could be helpful. Hopefully I'll be celebrating some milestones with my own brand. And then I would like to consider continuing content creation and seeing how that could work for me as, you know, my career evolves and pivots. Yeah, so a whole bunch of things in the works. I just want to explore all of my interests and be able to kind of pursue that. So that's
and
like for me.
And considering that, you know, you've majored in fashion, so have you ever thought about like having your own like fashion line down the line, possibly?
Yeah, I definitely want to pursue that. That's something that I'm currently working on now. That's something that I definitely want to put out to the world when the time's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. And it's funny how you mentioned AI because, you know, fashion, you know, is slowly taking advantage of AI, but also within like metaverse fashion. I don't know if you heard much about metaverse fashion.
Yeah.
You know, especially dealing with like AR and VR, so like virtual reality and augmented reality. You know, you have platforms like there's a platform called DressX that that sells like VR based fashion, AR based fashion and things like that. So I like how there's metaverse fashion designers and fashion brands are slowly getting involved with NFTs and the realm of Web3. So it's really cool to see that.
AI is just it's such a cool technology that's coming out. Like I definitely use Midjourney, ChatGPT, all of that, and the ways that you can kind of manipulate that and utilize it to your benefit for whatever you're creating is something that I've never seen. And I think everybody who even wants to do anything creative should definitely hop on to those waves and figure out how they can, have those systems work for them. Because it does eliminate a lot of cost, and it can eliminate a lot of the workload too, utilizing those systems.
Yeah, it eliminates a lot of the hassle. Yeah, but definitely like, Midjourney, is getting big, ChatGPT, people are utilizing that. So yeah, it's getting more advanced in terms of technology within fashion and in beauty. So that's really exciting to really see. But also too, there's people that's doing their own virtual AI avatars. So that's interesting to see that as well.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a big thing, I feel like, in the coming years. Have you thought about combining AI with nail art, or how that would kind of work for you?
I thought about it, but that'd be something really cool too, to do like AI and nail art, but that'd be something really, really cool. I haven't thought about it.
But happening, definitely.
Yeah, that'd be really, really cool. But I definitely want to go ahead and really end this off by asking, where could people find you on social media?
You can find me at Ari on TikTok, Instagram, and I'm also on Luminate now. It's YAASSS_Ari. And that's where you can find me.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much, Ariana, for jumping onto the show. I love what you're doing. I love your street style, your fashion style. It's very, very unique. I love the jacket that you're wearing.
Thank you.
It's off the chain. But I really, definitely enjoyed having you on the show. This is such a great conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your experiences, and keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for creating this platform. This platform is really good for people to, come on and share what they're doing. So Thank you for that.
Yes, absolutely. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to click the bell for notifications. Also follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Be sure to check out my website, ASIATHABIRD.com, and be on the lookout for more interviews to come very soon. Take care, stay healthy, and stay beautiful. Bye-bye.